Christmas in Canada is one of the most underrated South Park episodes ever, and it's a classic. And let me tell you why.
Today on Pancho Presenta.
So, I believe that this is one of the most underrated episodes ever, like I said. I think it's also maybe one of the best Christmas episodes of South Park. I mean, you got your Mr. Hankies, you've got your Charlie Mansons, your stupidly dumb hologram episode. I mean, it's modern South Park when modern South Park was somewhat modern. I believe it's one of the best ones. I'd even go as far as to say it's maybe the second or third best one. I mean, I'm going to put the official ranking up on the screen. Let's start off with the real meat and potatoes of the episode, the plot. So we start off with the Broflovski family celebrating Hanukkah, which Hanukkah, Jesus, how many days of celebration do they get compared to us who celebrate Christmas? Editor, who is also me, put it on the screen. Anyways, they're celebrating Hanukkah, and then they get a knock at the door where it's two Canadian characters, and they claim to be Ike's real parents, which, if you guys don't know, from the episode Ike's Wee Wee from Season 2, it explains that Ike is actually, well, he was adopted by the Broflovski family, and Kyle goes through a whole crisis about it, but now they're all good, you know what I mean? So we go to them saying that they want their son Peter back, because the new Canadian law says that any child born in Canada who is in America must go back to their biological parents. Well, what can the Broflovski family really do? I mean, they can't fight Canadian law, because if you know anything about Canadian law, you don't with Canadian law, because they are the most dominant superpower in the world, according to every Canadian. The Broflovski family loses Peter, and that's the end of it. For the next 2 weeks, they're in a pretty zombified state. They're sad and miserable. Kyle goes and confides in his three best friends. Well, two, I guess. Stan just says, well, what can we really do, essentially? Kenny just says, and Cartman, in typical Cartman fashion, hugs Kyle tightly. No, he doesn't give a shit. And he essentially tells him to kick rocks. So then, in the next scene, we get all the townspeople, all the citizens of South Park, agreeing to help the Broflovski family attempt to reach the Prime Minister, overturn the law itself in order to get Kyle's brother back. And that means no Christmas presents and no Christmas money for the kids. And, well, they're pissed. Cartman wants to smack this boy Kyle's lips off, but Kyle says, listen, I've got an idea. We fly to Canada and we get my brother back by any means necessary. And Cartman says, yeah, let's do it. But if we don't, I'm coming for those lips, boy. So they entrusted the services of City Airlines. They entrusted my boy Lou Kim, who is a white guy cosplaying because of his personality disorder as a Chinese guy. God, I love peak South Park. Anyways, they're about to board the plane, and all of a sudden Cartman and Kenny say, yeah, fuck that. Stan, in his virtuoso-type characteristic, says, yeah, get your asses on the plane. So they do. They fly into the night, and they sleep into the night, and they sleep into the morning. A little too sleepy. Oh my God, they're about to crash the fucking plane, but then here comes Lou Kim jumping out of the plane, and these four kids, these 4 8-year-olds, crash in Canada, and they survive because it is a cartoon. Yeah. Anyways, they finally make it to Canada, and here they are, Canada, and all of the Canadians are like the Munchkins from Munchkinland, singing their little hearts out. They meet up with Scott, who is a dick, which is not very common for Canadians, I hear. Which I must say, as a side note, I believe, and I'm pretty sure I'm right because it's a fact on the internet, because the internet is always right, this is a parody of The Wizard of Oz. The Canadians are the Munchkins from Munchkinland. Scott, the dick, is supposed to be the Wicked Witch of the West. We go from there. Let's see if we can find any other references. And along the way, on their journey to the capital of Canada, Ottawa, to meet with the Prime Minister, they meet a Mountie named Rick, who is, well, he's a Mountie. You know, Mounties usually ride horses, but my guy here is riding a sheep because the funding has been cut in Canada. And then we got a French-Canadian mime who can no longer drink wine. And then we got a Newfoundlander whose name is Steve, and he can no longer practice well, I mean, they have a lot of song and dances too. I'm gonna say, even though these Canadian episodes in South Park always have the goofiest of pacings, and they're always, well, terribly paced, they're fun and always super entertaining. And I love the music. I'm obviously not going to put any because of copyright reasons, but I suggest you go and seek this episode out, or even go on YouTube and check out these songs. They're absolutely beautiful, especially the French Canadians. It's a beautiful little number. But along the way, you can kind of see that Scott is following them because he's a dick and he hates America through all their perilous journeys, and they arrive at the building of the Prime Minister. And, well, they're immediately turned away by the guards who say, you know what? Eat rocks, guy. And, well, Kyle cries. And then, you know what? They're let in. Finally, they're allowed to meet with the Prime Minister of Canada, who is literally the great and powerful Oz. There's another Wizard of Oz reference. And here comes Ike and his real parents, or Peter, whatever the hell the kid's name is. And Kyle pleads with them, giving a whole spiel, talking about how families should be united on Christmas and, yeah, all that bullshit. You know what? It doesn't matter. Well, he essentially tells him to f off. Well, then the Prime Minister goes on a rampage and he kills Kenny. But then in the midst of all that, Stan sees a curtain, opens the curtain, and he sees Saddam Hussein is the Canadian Prime Minister, which, listen, I love that Saddam Hussein is in the style of the Canadians, even though he's literally from Iraq, but hey, love it. But then the Canadians realize that it's Saddam Hussein. We gotta kick his ass. So they're kicking his ass, and in that moment they declare that all the laws have been null and void, and Kyle gets his brother back. But we hear a beep. Cartman's watch goes off, and he doesn't make it in time. He doesn't make it back in time for American Christmas. And Kyle says, well, I got my brother back, right? That's all that matters. And Cartman says, F that. And he squares up, rolls up his sleeves, rolls up his pant legs, unwedgies his underpants, and is ready to fight Kyle. And then Kyle, with the might of Moses, grabs that fist of his and rams it slowly and gently into Cartman's face. And he cries like a bitch, and that's the end of it. But then the Mountie comes out and says, hey, everybody, who caught Saddam Hussein? Get your asses out here. Let's celebrate Canadian Christmas. They do. They're having a parade. They're parading in the cities with Saddam Hussein tied up. And all the kids are happy-ish. Well, Kyle's happy, and everybody's just like, well, fuck. What a weird adventure. Hopefully, we can have a better adventure next year, says Stan. And that's the end of the episode. Well, I loved it. I don't know if many others love it, but I love this episode. You get a lot of yucks and laughs, and I don't know. This style of episode isn't for everybody, but for me, I want to just reiterate for the 100th time, it is an underrated classic. Happy Hanukkah. Merry Christmas to all. This was
Pancho Presenta.